Hey everybody, welcome to another One Good Turn video where we bring you the latest games on Kickstarter and come into retail, show you a sample turn, basically like a convention style demo where you walk up to the table, see what's going on, unscripted, no bull. And with that being said, I've got Austin here today from IV4 Studios. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks so much for having
Thanks.
me.
Thanks for doing this 3 times because it keeps crashing. So that's the fun of live.
It's
Um,
hey, it's all part of it.
It is, right? So we've got Moonrakers on the table today, and you have a couple surprises for us for those who are watching. This should be a
Yeah,
reveal lined up around the same time on the campaign page with some of the secrets that we're going to showcase here. Hopefully everybody likes it. Some improvements to the two-player.
yeah.
But I'll let you do that, man. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the game is in a nutshell? I know most people should know the game, but maybe give them a little brief overview and what's new, and we can jump to the table.
Yeah, totally. So the base game, if you're not familiar, is a deck builder mixed with a negotiation game. So you're playing as a band of space pirates that are trying to pick a new leader, and so you're going around trying to gain prestige by going on a bunch of space contracts, trying to outdo your friends, but you also have to work with them a good bit to complete things.
Right.
Um, we have three physical expansions that are launching on Kickstarter or have launched probably by the time you're watching this, and then we have a digital one coming that we'll talk about a little later. But the
Ooh.
three expansions are Binding Ties, Overload, and Nomad. Binding Ties really helps with the people that are in groups that may not like working together as much. It really incentivizes going on contracts together. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Overload is for those deck building fans out there. It just really ramps up the deck building possibilities in the game. And then Nomad, the last one, is really just good thematic integration of the game. It completely changes how you get contracts. You're flying around the galaxy, and it adds a lot more of actual the feeling of being in space with your friends compared to the base game. So, yeah, if you want to go ahead and let's talk about Binding Ties first. So, if you want to come down to this green player board down here for me, Thomas, there is a new board here that tracks faction reputation with these tokens. So if I was blue and you were green and we went on a contract together, you would get faction rep with the blue faction, my faction, every time we successfully did a contract together. And then you can trade in that faction rep by spending it back down in order to get bonuses. Now, if you're able to save it all the way up to the fifth slot, that would be good for a victory point. And so that's pretty hard to do, but can be really, really helpful for completing the game. But more often, people are spending it on things like extra cards, extra actions, bonus cards like ship parts that'll increase the abilities that you have on your ship, or even hiring crew that will be in your deck, like more like a traditional deck builder. So that's what Binding Ties adds to the game.
So let me ask one
Overload,
question on Binding Tides,
yeah.
just because I think that's really intriguing. So we get rewarded for doing contracts together. So is this something that could perceivably improve the two-player experience? Maybe give you more
So the
interaction.
reason, so I have a surprise. I have things for you that'll improve the two
I
player
know, I know, I
experience.
know. I don't think that
This
it's
one,
bad. I just want to caveat the game is great with
yeah,
two. It's just there's negotiation, and that part's always weak
yeah.
when there's less people. So
So we actually don't even recommend using this expansion, this specific
okay,
expansion, for
this
less
one,
than three,
no,
just because it you have a little bit of it in the beginning, and then it just kind of dies out, and it almost
okay,
is like why even have it if you're not using it in the mid and late
right,
game. And so yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for this, but Overload definitely, just because you are doing things a little bit more on your own, and obviously solo and two player mode. And so Overload adds these new advanced action cards up here, and this plays 1 to 5 players. The Overload expansion does, and what it does is it just makes the deck building feel way more advanced. You have these advanced action cards that are basically upgraded, supercharged versions of the base game cards. So, like that shield you were just looking at would normally not give you an action, but this one lets you chain together more cards by giving you an extra action. And then there are a thruster card that also gives you an action, or another thruster card that'll give you 3 cards instead of 2. So basically, just overall better than any of the games, the base card games. Wow, the base game cards. There we go. But
okay,
in addition to that, it doubles the amount of ship parts and it doubles the amount of crew in the base game. And so you're just seeing cards that are brand new every time you play. It's not the same, 20 crew. Now there's 40 just in those two expansions, or this
wow,
base game at that expansion.
that's awesome.
Um, so yeah, it really, really ramps up the number of possibilities and different synergies that can happen. And the last thing it does, which I forgot to tell you about earlier, is adds these iosphere tokens. So they're a new token in the game. And basically, there are now ship parts like this one that are going to interact with the iosphere tokens. So this one says discard any reactor from your hand to add an iosphere to this card, remove 1 iosphere for 1 action. So what they are thematically is an energy storage system, and so you can use them to charge up parts over time. In this case, you're storing it for future use. There's a few different ways that you can use the iospheres, but they basically allow more complicated cards within the deck building that we've designed. So yeah, that's Binding Ties, and then, or sorry, that was Overload. And then
Overload.
if you come over to this navigation board, this is my personal favorite of the three, although it's pretty close to tied for all of them. Um, I am the blue player here, and normally we'd start at the middle of the board here. And before there would just be 8 contracts out on this board, and we'd have, just a choice of any of those 8. But what Nomad adds is this entire board where I can travel to different sectors. So let's say I go to Comac here, and then I'm going to draw contracts that fit that sector. So I am getting only blue contracts from the blue sector, and blue contracts are always going to start or have dominantly reactors as a requirement. So if you look, this one, Solar Flares here, is 2 reactors and 2 shields. That's one I could feasibly do on my own. But down here, Nova Scout, me and you would definitely need to do that together, and probably need an upgraded ship at this point. At the beginning game, it'd be way too hard. And so that's reflected in what their rewards are too. If you look at the top right of that Nova Scout card,
Oh, sorry.
it has 3 victory points and 8 credits, whereas the other one I could do by myself has 0 victory points and 3 credits. So huge difference in working together versus working alone as far as the rewards on that. But in addition to that, Nomad, if I had a really strong shield or a really strong thruster deck, would let me pick contracts that I know I'm going to have a better shot at completing. And that's a big difference from the base game where it was kind of just random what was going to be up. Still a little bit of randomness because you don't know which contracts you're going to draw, but at least you know the types of contract you will draw now.
How are you moving
Uh,
around on this board?
yeah, so every turn you get to move to an adjacent space. So I couldn't go
Okay.
from blue to yellow, but I could go to green or orange. And
Kinda
then
like a
there's actually
rondel?
a purple
Yeah,
sector up here, and we have
right.
to complete this contract. I could move there and attempt this contract in order to unlock it. Once we unlock it, it becomes a new zone that we can go to, and I could then get the purple contracts up there, which are mostly going to be crew requirements or just really more advanced contracts in general. Um,
Very cool.
yeah. In addition, there's also events. So global events are going to happen every turn where something's going to happen. So this one, for instance, players may travel to Magnemai and they may trash a card. All players have to travel to Magnemai, excuse me. They may trash a card from their hands. So this would force our tokens down here. And then we could choose to trash a card from our hands if we wanted to, which would be really good for getting rid of these miss cards, which are basically just trash taking up space in your deck. Then there's also I don't know if I'm going to be able to find one quickly enough, but yeah, here's one. There are cards that we would vote on. These are called policies. And if you've played TI4, it's a little bit like that voting time in TI4, but we would all vote yes or no on this. And the contracts in this case would all have an extra hazard die that have to be rolled, but they'd also all have an extra victory point. So
Hmm.
it can be good, it can be bad, depending on how good at rolling a die you are.
Right, right.
But yeah, those are the three. Those are the 3 expansions. Some secret stuff that is in here that I didn't tell you about. So this is a board that is basically being used just for the TTS mod, but this is also a physical board that we made. And what it does is it allows you to keep track of rewards a little bit better. So if we were in a contract together and I negotiated a victory point and 3 credits for you, normally we just have to remember that. But if you have this board, you can put these tokens on here. And it's not, you don't get to the end of the contract and you'd be like, no, you said I'd get 4 credits, or you said I'd
Oh,
get
right.
3, and you only get 2. It lets you remove that from your headspace and just
Very
focus
cool.
on, okay, who's rolling the hazard dice, who's getting what at the end. And so
Right.
that's an add-on that's coming in the campaign.
Very
Yeah.
cool. And now there's something exclusive to TTS or a digital version of the game, right?
Yeah. So the I'm trying to figure out what I could say, but I think the campaign will
Ah.
basically be live.
No, we're gonna
So we
set
have
yeah, this will be live, yeah. We'll
okay.
line it up.
So the TTS will launch at the time it launches, and it does reveal some things. There's an expansion pack that will be in the TTS that is also available in the campaign. That is a secret. It's actually and this is a big secret, Thomas. It's the Veiled Fate crew
Ooh,
the Veiled Fate characters from the
characters
game
as a
Veiled Fate
crew?
as crew in Moonrakers.
That's cool.
And
Do you
so
have them to show or
you
no?
you might be the only person outside our team that knows that right now
Well,
because this is
everybody
coming
knows
out
it now
early.
because this is coming out, so,
Yeah.
do you have those to showcase at all by chance, or
Wow.
or not?
Yeah, I do actually. Actually,
You do?
just go away from. Oh no, this is
It's
your
my
TTS
session.
mod.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, I
The people
I
can see him on the
can.
campaign page right now. Go check the update, and,
Yeah.
it's really cool if you're a Veiled Fate fan, so you get to play those guys in Moonrakers, so
Yep. And
very
then
cool.
the stretch goals are all about making these cards hollow foil cards. So that's something
Right.
I'm really excited about too. Is getting those. I love hollow cards. I mean, when I was 8 and playing with Pokemon cards, I was always hunting for those shinies, and it's never stopped. So
Right?
that's that's something else I'm excited about. But yeah, it's been a blast just getting to come back to Moonrakers and add all the things that we wish we could have added the first time. Right. So
Right. What do you think
it's been
what's your
really fun.
favorite, expansion of the game so far right now? What do you think's the shiner for you?
I'd have to choose. Oh, I'd choose Nomad, but I'm close tie between it and Overload. I think binding ties really helps groups that aren't ours. Like we obviously made the group to or the game to fit our group the best,
Right.
and then we realized, hey, not every group is like ours, and so binding ties really helps groups that don't necessarily look like the group that I was playing with when we designed it.
Right.
But Nomad just makes me feel like I'm in space, flying around the galaxy, doing contracts, and I think that was something that was missing from the base game.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah,
That's subjective, right? But definitely more theme, more integration is a good thing. Lots of choices, lots of variability. Can you tell me, maybe is there any changes to the solo in some
yeah.
of the expansions?
So the solo mode in the base game is basically like you're trying to score as many points as you can get. And some
Right.
people like that and some people don't like that. And I totally get that. Every solo mode player is a little bit different. So the solo mode in this, what the upgrade is overload. You're playing with all those new cards, and then now Nomad, the way you get contracts is totally different. So
Hmm,
the expansions do add to the solo mode, but the
that's
true
cool.
addition we have made to the solo mode for solo mode players is through Luminor, which is the fourth expansion, which is a digital co-op. It's not really a campaign; it's more like it's about the same time as a normal game, right? Like an hour to 2 hours. And it's more like a run of something like Slay the Spire, except you're still playing with the physical game components.
Right. And you're using
And
the app,
I have
right?
that to share if you want me to share it.
Yeah, yeah, let's check that out.
So the Luminor is something that you're going to be able to download from Steam. And I'm sorry, I'm looking for it on my screen. Hmm.
Do you have it handy or is it only on yours?
I could talk while I look for it. I'll find it in a second, I'm sure. But basically, it is a full like experience where you're playing with the physical components, but you're using a digital like campaign is what I'm going to say. It's not really a campaign. That's basically throwing baddies and situations at you that your team will have to work together to solve. And I have loved working on it. It has been an absolute blast getting to there it is, getting to be able to make this a reality. So basically, it integrates
Hold
with
on one
most of
second.
the
You're showing
content
me
that we're
on
coming
your
out with.
screen. You're sharing screens. Let me, I'm not gonna have that ready, bud.
Okay, yeah.
So is that
I
only
mean,
on your
totally.
screen to me or is it on TTS?
So it's not on TTS. It is on the screen I'm sending to you.
Ah,
Um, I can stop
it's
doing that if you'd
not
like.
showing me. Hold on. Are we showing it? Let me see. 1 second.
Back on that view, it showed your face and that. Yeah.
Yeah, I messed up. I was looking around. So here's me. Hi.
Hey,
Um,
it's perfect.
it should be this one. So that was
Perfect.
what happens when you do shit live. So tell
Hey,
me what we're looking at here.
yeah, so this is Luminor, and it integrates with a lot of the content we're coming out with right now. Not binding ties, but you can choose to add that or not. I'm going to skip that, and then it tells you what you need from the base game, which is basically everything except for the contracts and the objectives. And then Luminor is basically going to walk you through a tutorial. I'm going to skip through that, and I'm going to skip through some of the story just so you can see it for yourself. But basically, we're hunting a UA general, and this general is trying to wipe out the Moonrakers. And so we're playing as blue and green. And so we would pick our player board colors there. And we could even, add our names if we wanted to. And then we would go ahead into the game. and we get some credits, and then they'd actually give us some ship parts for free, which is nice of them. And so if I were to buy this ship part, for instance, I could put that, well, I'm putting it on your ship because I'm a nice guy. I can put that on your ship, and that is a permanent ship part that you would have for the rest of the game. And I'll go ahead and throw um, a ability on there as well. So we're able to have this squad ability. So our options are play 2 thruster cards as one action to allow an ally to draw 2 cards, or put 3 cards from your hand back in the draw pile to allow your player an ally to draw 1 card. We're going to choose the first one. Anyway, so this is where it might start having some vibes for like an FTL or a Slay the Spire for you, because we're going to go out to our map. And this is a map where you are having to choose between different contracts to eventually get all the way to the general and try to defeat them. And so, what I love about this is it is free to anyone that has the base game. It's just playable starting on Friday, probably before this show comes out. But so if you have the base game, you can literally download this from Steam and
That's
play it.
awesome. Yeah,
Um, and so it's a permanent upgrade that just adds a totally new way to play Moonrakers.
very
But
cool.
yeah,
Very cool. As soon as you're back, we can switch you
should be
here.
back now.
Yeah, man. That
Hey,
was an unexpected surprise. That's cool. But yeah, man, I dig in all the new stuff. I'm sure people watching are interested, and this will hopefully help them decide if the game's right for them, or did this just make a great game better? Did it save a game you didn't like? Who knows? Tell us in the comments. And hey, man, I know you got a lot going on, so I'm going to keep this brief for you. We're at like
thanks.
15 minutes, which is a world record. So I really appreciate
Yeah,
it. It's what I want, just to show people what the game's about. We didn't get to go through a turn, but there's just so much going on with this game. Maybe we
yeah,
can come back and play a co-op version or something sometime soon.
would love to.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate it, man. You hang in there and good luck with the campaign, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks
Okay.
so much.
All right, buddy. Bye bye.